Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you about the current topic. But today our topic is a very ancient topic as well as current topic. The topic is Indian heritage, fact or fiction. A nation's culture resides in the hearts and in the soul of its people, said Mahatma Gandhi. If I were asked under what sky the human mind has most fully developed, some of its choicest gifts has most deeply pondered on the greatest problems of life and has found solutions, I should point to India, said Max Muller. Today, let us remember the golden heritage of our country and feel proud to be a part of India. Cultural heritage is the legacy of cultural resources and intangible attributes of a group of society that is inherited from past generations. Not all legacies of past generations are heritage. Rather, heritage is a product of selection by society. Indian heritage and culture are vast and vivid because of the large number of religious groups residing in our country. Every community has its own set of customs and traditions which it passes on to its younger generation. However, some of our customs and traditions remain the same throughout India. Our traditions teach us to inculcate good habits and make us a good human being. Our cultural heritage is thus a beautiful gift from our older generation that will help us become a better human being and build a harmonious society. Indian literature is as rich as its culture. We have various books written on many topics since ancient times. We have the Vedic literature, epic Sanskrit literature, classic Sanskrit literature, and Pali literature, among other kinds of Indian literature. Many of our books are being translated to other languages to provide access to a greater number of readers so that more and more people can benefit from the knowledge. Indian culture is the heritage of social norms, ethical values, traditional customs, belief systems, political systems, artifacts, and technologies that originated in or are associated with the Indian subcontinent. The term also applies beyond India to countries and cultures whose histories are strongly connected to India by immigration, colonization, or influence, particularly in South Asia and Southeast Asia. India's languages, religions, dance, music, architecture, food, and customs differ from place to place within the country. Indian culture, often labeled as an amalgamation of several cultures, has been influenced by history that is several millennia old, beginning with the Indus Valley civilization. Many elements of Indian culture, such as Indian religion, mathematics, philosophy, cuisine, languages, dance, music, and movies, have had a profound impact across the Indosphere, Greater India, and the world. Indian origin religions, Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism are all based on the concepts of dharma and karma. Ahimsa, the philosophy of non-violence, is an important aspect of native Indian faiths, whose most well-known proponent was Mahatma Gandhi, who used civil disobedience to unite India during the Indian independence movement. This philosophy further inspired Martin Luther King Jr. during the American Civil Rights Movement. Foreign origin religion, including Abrahamic religions such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, are also present in India, as well as Zoroastrianism and Baha'i faith. Both escaping persecution by Islam have also found shelter in India over the centuries. Indian drama and theater has a long history alongside its music and dance. Kalidas plays like Shakuntala and Meghdut are some of the older dramas following those of Bhasha. Kutayam of Kerala is the only surviving specimen of the ancient Sanskrit theatre. Music is an integral part of India's culture. Natya Shastra, a 2000-year-old Sanskrit text, describes 5 systems of taxonomy to classify musical instruments. The oldest preserved examples of Indian music are the melodies of the Samaveda, 1000 BC, that are still sung in certain Vedic Srota sacrifices. This is the earliest account of Indian musical hymns. According to Mr. Amrit Sen, the Indian-born Nobel literate in economics, the culture of modern India is a complex blend of its historical traditions, influences from the effects of colonial rule over centuries, and current Western culture, both collaterally and dialectically. Mr. Sen observes that external images of India in the West often tend to emphasize the differences, real or imagined, between India and the West. There is a considerable inclination in the Western countries to distance and highlight the differences in Indian culture from the mainstream of Western tradition rather than discover and show similarities. Western writers and media usually misses in important ways crucial aspects of Indian culture and tradition. And to discuss today the Indian heritage, fact or fiction, we have a very power-packed elite panelists, guests with us. I would like to introduce my first guest, and he is Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, is one-man expert commission on labor to prepare an action plan for the welfare and development of the workforce in the context of COVID-19. He was former head of disaster management, Government of India, and Central Draft Relief Commissioner, Government of India. He is also the principal advisor, Government of India Heritage Project. He is the chairman of Indian Red Cross Kerala. He was the vice chancellor of National Museum, University of Delhi. He has authored 40 books in English, Malayalam, and Hindi, including novels, short stories, and essays. 4 of his books have become bestsellers. 4 books on Vastu and architecture and 1 book on housing received prestigious the Sharjah International Book Fair Award. Dr. Bose is an housing expert, innovator, writer, orator, and visionary. The path-breaking institutions set up by him, such as Nirmiti Kendra, Building Center, District Tourism Council, and Habitat Alliance, have been replicated at the state, national, and global level. He was the head of the prestigious Supreme Court Committee on the Treasures of Shri Padmanabhaswamy Temple. Dr. Bose addressed United Nations General Assembly and specialized sessions 5 times on various international issues. Dr. Bose is a recipient of 31 national and international awards, including United Nations Global Best Practice Award. He also received prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru Fellowship. Kerala government termed him Lord of Ideas. Former Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh called him inspired civil servant, and our Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi called him man of ideas. Welcome Dr. C.V. Anand Bose on our show. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, as you know, today's topic is Indian heritage, fact or fiction, and you being the principal advisor, Government of India Heritage Project. I'm sure you are the best person to speak about the fact and fiction of Indian heritage. So I would like to invite you, welcome you, and request you to say what is the fact, heritage, Indian heritage, fact or fiction. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, please.
At the outset, I would like to call your attention to what Dr. Arnold Toynbee, the great historian, said about India. he said, it is already becoming clear that a chapter which had a Western beginning will have to have an Indian ending if it is not to end in the self-destruction of the human race. He repeated, at this supremely dangerous moment in human history, the only way of salvation for mankind is the Indian way. That is the historian Arnold Toynbee. And the great scientist Albert Einstein, he said, we owe a lot to the Indians who taught us how to count, without which no worthwhile research would have been possible. And these are the testimonials given by two of the great men of the world. Now, this is an occasion for us to have a retrospect and an introspection into what we have done with our great heritage and culture. There is a growing feeling among Indians, particularly the new generation. They feel that whatever is India, whatever is Hindu, is primitive, superstitious, intolerant, and the essence of Bharat, they have not been able to imbibe or appreciate. This is a position where from we are speaking about the great Indian culture and heritage. Science and spirituality. There is no dichotomy between them, but it is paraded as if the doctrines of the concepts of spirituality has to have the sanction of scientific principles. Scientific attitude in appreciating mythology, scientific attitude in assessing culture and tradition, rituals and faith. How far this can go together? As Rudyard Kipling said, the East is East and the West is West, and never the twain shall meet. It is as if spirituality and science can never meet, but it is not so. We are asked to measure concepts of faith, concepts of heritage, culture, and mythology with the yardstick of science. Now, are there areas where those two will meet? I am reminded of a recent research which the scientists of Cambridge University have done. See, in the mythology, we are told that Hari and Hara, Vishnu and Shiva, united, and in that unison was born Ayyappa or Harihara. Patent absurdity, isn't it? Sacrilege, isn't it? Superstition, isn't it? But no. Science has proved that what the Rishi had envisaged is not fiction, it is fact. The Rishis observed nature. They try to understand the mysteries of the universe. What does the scientist do? He also tries to understand and unravel the mysteries of the universe. The Rishis observed nature, and in nature, you find that birth takes place without the normal reproductive process of union between male and the female. We see around us in nature every day. The honeybee, the tick and the wasp, they do not come through the due process of reproduction. The male itself can create another progeny. This is what is told by our ancestors in the form of mythology. Male begetting children without a female support. Now the scientists of Cambridge University have proved that by taking a cell from the male, he can create a baby. Now, isn't it an area where science shakes hands with spirituality? So when we decry the basics of Indian philosophy, the basics of our mythology, we should think twice. We have inherited a heritage which is based out in scientific truths. And what does science do? Science is concerned with the outer world, whereas spirituality is concerned with the inner world. And the twain shall meet. There is objective knowledge and subjective knowledge. What science gives us is objective knowledge, which is imperfect knowledge, only one part of the knowledge. There should also be relevance for subjective knowledge. Therefore, we find that Indian philosophy, Indian mythology, the essence of India is not thrice removed from science. And let us say sci-fi, scientific fiction, many of it are coming true. And we have many instances which put Indian philosophy, Indian heritage above, on top of the world. For instance, the respect for women. For us, Prakriti is Mother, nature is Mother, universe is Mother, the cow is Mother. We are not the only mythology which teaches this. In the Egyptian mythology, there is Isis who is revered as a mother. Isis is the wife of Osiris. Similarly, in Sumerian mythology, Inanna also is revered. Inanna is almost akin to Saraswati, because Inanna at one stage is given as the daughter of the sky god, at times as the wife. So we should see that we have a great tradition, a great philosophy, the essence of India, which should rule the world. That is why people like Arnold Toynbee has said that the world to come, particularly of the post-COVID brave new world, India is going to lead. India is going to lead because a great treasure house of knowledge and wisdom, which the rishis have transferred to us. I do not want to take more of your time here. I think one of the most celebrated and revered authority in Indian culture and heritage, Sri R. Ramchandran Nair, is here. He is an icon in this field. He was not only chief secretary, he was the senior most IAS officer in the country, but he has dedicated his life to expound the best that is there in Indian tradition and culture. And also we have, both the panelists are outstanding in this field. I would like to listen to them. And if you give me a second opportunity, I will certainly come out with my own findings or my observations on India's heritage and culture. Thank you.
Very much, Dr. Bose, for giving the opening remarks. And Dr. Bose has mentioned very clearly that whatsoever the Western people says, or that is a perception, is that the Indian mythology is all, it's not fact, it's a fiction, is wrong. And he has proved, he has given the example of Hari and Hara, that is the Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva, how because of their union, the Lord Ayyappa was born, and which he has substantiated by saying that the Cambridge University scientists have now proved that even a male can, with the units of the two males, the child can be born. And so he says that our spirituality is very correct. It is not that whatsoever the people think. And he has also mentioned that the spirituality and the science are both can meet, although the science is an outer thing, while the spirituality is the inner one. And he says that both of them are required for the human being. And he has given the quotes of Albert Einstein, Kipling, etc. And he mentioned very clearly that these things, whatsoever we are thinking, is not correct. The thing is, India or Hindus are, whatsoever the mythology says, is not a fiction, it's a fact. So thank you very much, Dr. Bose, for giving your opening remarks. Now I would like to go to our next guest, and he is Mr. R. Ramchandran Nair, IAS. Mr. Ramchandran Nair is the founder, vice chancellor of Sri Shankaracharya University, Kaladi, and former chief secretary, Government of Kerala. He is of 1961 IAS batch. He is author of several books in Sanskrit and Malayalam, poetry and prose. He is the author of 4 Kathakali plays. He composed more than 500 songs for Carnatic classical music. He is an educationist who has established several colleges and schools in Kerala state and in Kanyakumari district of Tamil Nadu. He is well-known exponent of Vedanta philosophy, Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita. Welcome, Mr. Ramchandran Nair on our show. Mr. Ramchandran Nair, you have already heard what Dr. C.V. Anand Bose has spoken in his opening remark. And he very clearly, very strongly said that Indian mythology or Indian heritage is fact, not a fiction. Now, we would like to know from you, Indian heritage, fact or fiction? Mr. R. Ramchandran Nair, IAS, please.
The contribution that India has made to mathematics has been accepted and admired all over the world. It has been clearly established that the decimal system has been provided to the world by India. The concept of zero came from India, even though the numerals are called Arabic numerals. The Arabs got them from India only. There are very basic, remarkable texts on mathematics in ancient Sanskrit poetry. The book Aryabhatta, Vakpada, these are all people who had contributed substantially. Bhaskaracharya, they have contributed substantially to mathematics. The famous Leelavati is a fundamental text on mathematics. Take literature. Two of the most ancient works of India, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. They are ranked among the greatest languages. C. Radhagopalachari had once stated, you need not have any other education except an education, a foundation in the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. You learn a lot about humanity, righteousness, how to conduct yourself, how to run a country, what the attitude of a ruler, attitude of a government towards the public should be. The Arthashastra of Kautilya, these are all texts which arose, which were written several centuries before Christ. The Arthashastra of Kautilya, it lays down all the basic principles of conduct itself. How taxes should be collected, how public works should be undertaken by the government, what are the responsibilities of a government. All these, they have been laid down beautifully by Kautilya in his Arthashastra. Then take medicine. Ayurvedic medicine has been well established in India several centuries before Christ. The Aushadha concepts and Oshadhi is a plant, Aushadha is medicine. How all our medicines can be extracted from various plants, what we have to do, how to approach the subject. That has been established in the Ayurveda system so many centuries ago. Then Panini's Ashtadhyayi, the whole world has accepted. Those who have studied what is grammar, how grammar has to be clearly laid down. It is considered one of the wonders of the world. How in 8 chapters, Panini has brought out a beautiful grammar. Something like Panini's work came into being in other languages only hundreds of years later. Panini is supposed to have lived in 800 BC. His Ashtadhyayi is considered to be one of the wonders. Then Kalidasa. Kalidasa is hailed by no less a person than one of the greatest poets of all time. Goethe, would you like to combine the earth and heaven itself in one word? I named the old Shakuntala. Because according to Goethe, Goethe himself is one of the greatest of poets in any language. He says the fruits of the flowers of spring and the fruits of autumn, the all that is beautiful, all that is nourishing for human beings, the heaven and earth, everything can be combined in one word, Shakuntala. So 2000 years back, the play Shakuntala was written by Kalidasa, one of the greatest of plays written in any language. And Kalidasa was only one of them. Bhasa and Kalidasa and Bhavabhudi, there are so many other great dramatists and poets. So in all aspects of human endeavor, India has done wonderful work. Even take astronomy. People never connect India only with astrology, but astrology is based on astronomy. And the understanding of astronomy, you read the Brihajadagam of Varahamihra, how beautifully he explains what is the distance from the sun to the to Mercury, then to Venus, then to Earth, to Mars, to Jupiter, to Saturn. He has a very clear understanding of the zodiac, where the planets are, where the constellations are. So these are all various fields in which India has done remarkable work so many centuries back. But I would like to say that in fact, it is in understanding of the human mind and what is the value of life itself. That is where India has given the greatest contribution. Take our Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, the Brahma Sutras, how remarkably the essence of man's existence on this earth have been explained. What is the real purpose of life? What should be our endeavor? How should we conduct ourselves? In earthly matters, in material things, the Viduravakkya is a basic text. In approaching the supernatural, the eternal, Bhagavad Gita, which is based on the Upanishads. Actually, a person like Schopenhauer has said there has never been anything beyond the Upanishads. The Upanishads of India and their interpretation and explanation by Vyasa Maharshi at first and Adi Shankara later. Adi Shankara is quite modern if we look at his approach to things, but he lived 1,200 years back, 12 centuries back. Adi Shankara is one of the very rare prophets who said, you don't just accept what I have said here. You think about these things, apply your logic. If what I say here appeals to your reasoning, then only accept it. Don't just swallow what I say. This is the only prophet who said, don't just accept me. Don't just swallow what I say. So that sort of scientific approach to things. Now, who can say India's heritage is just fiction? Of course, we should not just think of the past. The past is only showing us the way, the past to the present, from the present to the future. We should not always dwell on what India has done 2000 years back or 3000 years back. What India should be 100 years later, 500 years later, 1000 years later, 2000 years later. That should be our most important consideration. But you can go forward to a great future only if you are aware of your great past. We have stood stand firm on the ground which is the past and reach to the greatest height which we can reach in the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramchandran, for giving your views. And Mr. Ramchandran started with saying that what India has made so much contribution to the world, is starting from mathematics, the zero, the decimal, even the numericals were given by India. He has also mentioned that Ramayana and Mahabharata, two the literary thing which were given by India. According to C. Rajgopalachari, if anybody wants to learn anything, they just read Ramayana and Mahabharata. They will understand everything of the life, including how to run a country. So, and then the economics, the Kautilya Arthashastra was given by India. And he says that at that time, how the taxes to be collected, what will be the tax structure, everything, which all are before the Christ, which were given by India. He says in the medical field also, our Aushadh, our Ayurveda, it was very, very ancient and very effective. And yes, Mr. Ramchandran, I can say that we are seeing even in this present time of pandemic COVID-19, people are turning towards that Ayurveda thing because now they are understanding that the real immunity can be achieved if we will go for the Ayurveda thing. So all these things are given by the country. He says we cannot say that these are all fiction. We have contributed in every sphere of the life. But he has also mentioned why only we just remind ourselves about our past. We must say what is going to be our present and future. India has to think what will be the future 100 or 500 or 1000 years after. So all these contributions which our country has made, even for the grammar, he has mentioned how it was given, and many, many things which were generated, created, astrology, astronomy, everything was done, given, I would say, very great heritage of our Indian culture. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramchandran Nair, for giving your views, very strong views about the Indian heritage. And you have made it very clear, as Dr. C.V. Anand Bose has made, that there is nothing called fiction. It's all facts, and we have to believe in. And if we will believe in, then only we can develop ourselves and we can rule the world. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramchandran, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my next guest, and she is Miss Sri Kumari Ramchandran. Miss Sri Kumari is a renowned author, writer, and orator. She is a writer in the mainstream of Malayalam literature. She is a trained dancer and accomplished singer. She bagged numerous trophies in the state level, school, college, youth festivals. She is a graduate in economics from Kerala University and a Visharad in Hindi language from Dakshin Bharat Hindi Prachar Sabha. After an early marriage to advocate C. Ramchandran Menon, she chose to live the quiet life of a homemaker for nearly 20 years. She took to writing in 1988. By 1992, she got auditioned by the All India Radio and was elevated to B high grade in music. Since then, she has presented Sugam Sangeet and Bhakti Sangeet on AIR, Trichur, and Doordarshan Trivandrum. She has authored around 30 books, spreading over a vast spectrum of subjects. She is an excellent orator and a columnist and a regular at television talk shows and debates. She has been actively involved in the socio-cultural activities of the Cochin city and holds a place of esteem. Welcome, Miss Sri Kumari Ramchandran on our show. Miss Sri Kumari Ramchandran, you have heard what Dr. C.V. Anand Bose as well as what Mr. R. Ramchandran Nair has spoken before you. And both are of this view that Indian heritage is a very, very ancient heritage, far before that any other religion or any other culture. And both of them says that our heritage is a fact, not a fiction. And they have given ample examples, which you have already heard. Now, we would like to know from you, the Indian heritage, fact or fiction, as you wish, in whatsoever way you want to explain. Miss Shri Kumari Ramchandran, please.
I am sitting before the camera as a proud Indian. First of all, let me confess that I am enlightened after listening to the words of wisdom spoken by Dr. Anand Bose and Dr. Ramchandran Nair. I am not a scholar or a researcher, but being a writer, I have read a lot of books, especially books on Indian heritage and culture. I have written books on Indian heritage and culture in English as well as Malayalam. In the light of the experience I have derived from reading and traveling, I strongly believe that India has been the guru to the world from time immemorial. She has made great contributions to the world, especially to the field of metaphysics. Even when she was under the sway of the British power, people from Europe and America saw a preceptor in India. While the Western world was guided by materialism, India was guided by a spiritual brilliance of her own. It was this wisdom of India that attracted the Westerners to accept her as their guru. Over the years, the fabric of the world society was swept over by many a change. It is really unfortunate that today India's position as the guru of the world is shaky due to alien intrusions. Internal unrest, fanaticism, and indifference of the younger generation also have been doing harm in this regard. The social harmony is slowly getting blemished. Nonetheless, our ancient texts like the Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, epics, etc., have worldwide acceptance even today. Bhagavad Gita deserves a special mention at this point. These texts are not discerned just as the fanciful exhortations of some ancient rishis. They are looked upon as the gems churned out from the cosmic truth by the ancient seekers and thinkers. India is a land where people follow different religions, but surprisingly, their basic culture remains the same. Their lifestyles, food habits, way of dressing, attitudes, aptitudes, etc., are very much similar to each other. This is because they are sired from a common cradle. I believe it is not proper to mix religion with heritage or culture. By delving deep, we reach an incubator of a common heredity. The Indian society was always marked for its tolerance. 100 and odd years ago, Swami Vivekananda strived for a universal religion. What went wrong? Where did it go wrong? How and why? We do not know. I think things overturned due to cultural invasion and religious intolerance. At this stage, I strongly believe that it is time for a renaissance, another renaissance, I should say, a revival or a resurrection of the great Indian heritage is essential. Can we slight Ramayana and Mahabharata as mere works of fiction while they have been imparting valuable lessons and ethical precepts to us to be imbibed into our day to day life? Over the ages, they have been inspiring generations. The fact that they have been translated into almost all the Asian and Western languages itself is proof enough to show that they are facts and not works of fiction. We come across test tube babies like Duryodhana and his siblings in Mahabharata. If we delve deep into our Puranas, we can imbibe that whatever we see in modern science today was in vogue in the period of Ramayana and Mahabharata. Every child born in India should be aware of the contents of these texts. What about Bhagavad Gita, the song of the Lord? The whole world has acknowledged the significance of Bhagavad Gita. It has been included in the syllabus of many a Western university. Are we to ignore it as just another work of fiction? No. Ramayana and Mahabharata are the quintessential features of our glorious heritage. They will never, never perish. So too Bhagavad Gita. Now look at the sculptural marvels of our nation, especially the temples. Our temple culture is unique. Tourists throng our temples to enjoy their beauty and study the science behind the intricately crafted gopuras, I mean edifices and pillars. Are they mere statues carved out of granite or marble? Nay, they are constructed according to Kshetra Tachu Shastra, that is temple architecture, which is a science by itself. Their surreal elegance and geographical significance are beyond the cognizance of ordinary brains. They are the mementos of a wonderful past that would never return. The fact that these age-old structures have outlived time and invasions itself speaks for their divine afflatus. Now about our art forms, mainly music and dance. Dr. Ramchandran Nair was mentioning about music and other arts. Evam Sadashiva Proktam Shastram Sangeeta Samjnagam Bharadadyestu Munibir Sarvatatha Pracharidam. This is a Sanskrit verse seen in a very old text on music. I'm not sure about the name of the book. Either it is Sangeeta Damodaram or Sangeeta Makarandam. Anyway, I'm sure about the author. It was authored by Narada Muni. According to this, Lord Shiva is perceived as the sire of art forms, especially dance and music. The book says how the 7 basic notes of Indian music evolved from the 5 phases of the Lord. From him, sages like Bharata and Matanga learned the art and propagated it all over the world. Both dance as well as music, be it vocal or instrumental, follow a strict scientific pattern. That is what the sloka says. Shastram. Shastram means science. Sangeeta Samjnagam, known as Sangeeta. One more important thing to remember is that music has independent existence. Indian music has independent existence, whereas dance needs the support of music. The music we enjoy today is the contribution of our ancient acharyas. So is our dance forms. Can we deny it? I have done an analysis. I have prepared a paper on this, but due to lack of time, I'm just not going into it. We still learn the very same basic lessons of music and dance concocted by them. Our music and dance forms have students all over the world, for they know the birth of Indian heritage. Under the circumstances, can we slight our art forms as the fancied fabrications of some wandering monks? I don't think so. We are a land of festivals too. Every state has its own share of festivals and celebrations. Each of these festivals has its own history dating back to centuries. And these histories cannot be ignored as mere stories culled up from imaginations. Even if they be so, we love to believe them as has been done by our forefathers. The cultural fluorescence of India is peerless. It has outlived centuries. It is hereditary. If it were just a fantasy, it would not have survived so long. We still remain a colorful and diverse nation thanks to our cultural heritage. People here follow different faiths, traditions, tenets, customs, and more. Yet we are not ashamed to say that we are a multicultural society. We take pride in that unity in diversity. But we respect the other religions and the other cultures just as we uphold our individual culture. For that is what we have been doing for ages. That is what we have been taught by our forefathers. Tolerance to other religions and culture runs in our blood thanks to our glorious heritage. It is foolish to think that Indian culture or heritage is just the imaginations of some cranky minds. In fact, it is concerned with the evolution of a people and their beliefs and their practices. If we analyze the various features of our heritage, we can find that they are scientific, sensible, and systematic. Before I conclude, I should throw light on another point of our great heritage, that is the joint family culture. Even in Ramayana and Mahabharata, we come across mentions about so many joint families. So they have advantage, whether they have advantages or disadvantages. That has been the system followed in India. While I think the joint family system of India is an enigma to the other Western countries, where when children above 18 are sent to live independently in countries like the US. In India, even the married children live with their parents, grandparents, and even uncles sometimes in their ancestral homes, enjoying the common property. Right from the ancient period, we have been doing it. The system has, as I said earlier, disadvantages, but it provides a solid foundation to the society. Just imagine the stories of the grandma enlivening the breakfast sessions and the laughters and the harmless pranks of the children, lilting up the hearts of the grandparents. There is no better security for a woman than the insurance provided by a joint family. Senior people, they are secure under the care of the joint family. They enjoy their old age in the company of youngsters and children, unlike the senior citizens of modern world who suffer loneliness and depression. An unseen bond of love holds the members of the joint family together. The joint family can be compared to a school from where children learn the lessons of love, forbearance, sharing, and so many other traits that mold them into good human beings. When we began to copy the Western society and the Western culture, old age homes and daycare centers cropped up in India. I would rather say that we should rethink and revive the old pattern of society. But of course, it should be devoid of its demerits. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sri Kumari Ramchandran, for giving your views about the heritage, Indian heritage facts or fiction. And she has mentioned very, very strongly and clearly that nothing is fiction. Mentioned if it was so, then why Ramayana and Mahabharata has been translated in almost all the languages around the world? That if it is a fiction. And she says, whatsoever we are learning from those books or our granths, they are very, very useful even today. And she has given lots of example, different examples. And in the end, she has mentioned about the joint family. And she says how the joint family is it contributed by the Indian culture, Indian heritage. And still, the joint family is supposed to be the best. And I can add, Mrs. Ramchandran, that today in the time of COVID-19, everyone realized the importance, the family value, as especially the joint family, because those who are staying in a nuclear family, they were repenting, they were feeling loneliness, they were having lots of problems while they were doing work from home, because it is not possible for them to take care of their children as well as to work from home, and because the schools and nurseries and everything is shut. While in the joint family, people used to be there, the grandparents are there, the parents are there, they are taking care of the small children, etc. And she has given many other examples, and according to her, everything is fact. We must imbibe our own heritage. She has mentioned about the music, and she says the music, Indian music is started by Lord Shiva. And she says that, and it is fact that we have all the rags which have, in lakhs of rags are there, which are created by our Indian heritage, Indian culture, Indian art and music. So even the dance forms which are there, even if we see today's music, we will find that they are using those classical rags or the tunes which are age old, or our very, very old things which were done by our musicians so long and so many years back. So, and she has mentioned about Gita, how the Gita is being taught in many of the foreign universities today, in the business management universities. While in India, we always think that it is nothing but fiction. Always means many of people, or some of the people. And she also mentioned about the religion. Our religion has never given anything. We are very tolerant people, and we are tolerating everything from the very beginning. Thank you very much, Mrs. Shri Kumar, for giving your very, very strong views about the Indian heritage, that it's all facts, nothing fiction. Now, I would like to go to Dr. C.V. Anand Bose. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, you have already heard both our guests, those also have vouched, and they have also supported your views very strongly that Indian heritage is a fact, not the fiction. Now, Dr. Bose, you have traveled a lot. You have visited many, many countries. Now, and you have seen that their culture and the civilization. My question to you is, can you compare the culture and civilization of India with other countries' culture and civilization, and how the Indian civilization and culture you will put in comparison to the other culture and civilization? Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, please.
When I was listening to the erudite and enlightening presentation by my most respected elder brother in the service, Sri R. Ramchandran Nair, and of course the scholar, Srimati Sri Kumari, I am convinced that Indian heritage, whether fact or fiction, is not fictitious. You know, you asked about the comparison between Indian civilization and the Western civilization. I think the answer has already been given by Mahatma Gandhi. When he went for the Round Table Conference, one of the journalists asked him, Gandhi, what is your opinion about the Western civilization? He smiled and said, oh, Western civilization, not a bad idea. That is where India stands. Now we see Sri Ramchandran Nair, the scholar that he is, the poet that he spoke about Goethe, the German poet Goethe, admiring Kalidasa. In the two couplets from both, I may juxtapose to know the greatness of each. About Helen, Goethe becomes euphoric. And was this the face that launched 1,000 ships and burned the topless towers of Ilium? Sweet Helen, make me immortal with a kiss. These lines are, of course, become immortal. And now come to Kalidasa. Astutarasyam dishi, Devadatma, Himalayo nama nagadhiraja, Urabero toya dhivagakya, Siddha pradiviyam imam anadanda. Juxtapose both these and see the depth of imagination. I am a student of literature, so I know the greatness of Goethe. But as a student of English literature, I did not know the greatness of Kalidas. When you understand it, there is a feeling among Indians that our poets are our greats become great only if they are complimented by the Westerners. That happened in the case of Goethe or Kalidas also. Kalidas is being celebrated by people now as the Shakespeare of India. Kalidas lived 1,000 years ahead of Shakespeare. Of course, Shakespeare is a great poet. But it should be the other way around. And about Kautilya, Ramchandran sir mentioned Kautilya here. Kautilya is known as the Machiavelli of the East. Kautilya was there 1,000 years, 700 years ahead of Machiavelli. So that is what happened to Indian culture. The sedulous aping of the West. English education has given this wrong feeling to the younger generation that West is the best. I'm very gladdened to listen to the presentations of these two stalwarts here who can expound it to the whole world, the greatness of Indian culture and tradition. And now, you said about the comparative mythology, perhaps, that is civilization of various countries. There are certain comparisons and similarities between Mahabharata and Greek mythology. So in the Ramayana, we find Jatayu and Sambadi. Sambadi soaring up to the sun, his wings get burned and he falls on the ground. In Greek literature, there is Icarus, son of Daedalus. They soar up to the sun, wings get burned and fall on the Cretan island. See, look at the stunning similarity between both. And you decry Indian civilization, Indian heritage. saying that we are worshippers of the cow, as if it's a wrong thing. You worship anything, animate and inanimate. That is a great virtue of seeing nature as in a holistic manner. Is the cow. Of course, there are Kamadhenu is there, Nandini is there, Surabhi is there. These are all great cows, behind which we have created a methodology which teaches the younger generation to love nature. And now, cow is worshipped in the Bible. In the Bible, there is a scene. Pharaoh has a dream. The Egyptian emperor Pharaoh, from the Nile, 7 fat cows come out. Then come 7 lean cows. The lean cows swallow the fat cows. Pharaoh was confused. What is the meaning of the dream? So many interpretations were given, but Joseph was in prison. He gives the interpretation. The 7 fat cows represents 7 years of plenty. The 7 lean cows represent 7 years of famine. The wise Pharaoh took the lesson from the cow. He appointed Joseph as his minister. Joseph created a buffer stock after 7 years of plenty. When famine struck all the countries around Egypt, the granaries of Egypt are overflowing. Now, you said about the belief in various cultures, various civilizations. There's a striking similarity between the Hindu way of looking at the cow and the Christian way of looking at the cow. If so, by comparison, when India should be shining, India is shining. How came that an effort has been made, and some, I think Sri Kumari said about cultural invasion. A cultural invasion has taken place. That is why even the minds of our younger generation has been polluted to think that India is primitive. Here is Romain Rolland who said, if there is one place on the face of earth where all the dreams of living men have found a home from the very essential earliest days when man began the dream of existence, that is India. That is Romain Rolland. And Mark Twain said about India, this is India, cradle of human race, birthplace of human speech, mother of history, grandmother of legend, great-grandmother of tradition. That is the assessment which people of various civilizations have made about India. Therefore, I think India has a great tradition compared with the other civilizations. We have a great tradition. We are perhaps, as said, mother of history, grandmother of legend, great-grandmother of tradition. Take, for instance, one noble thought, a legend which is there from Indian heritage. In the beginning of the world, when Prithu was the emperor of the world, he finds that somebody has taken away all the resources of the earth. In royal tradition, Prithu the king chases the fugitive with the bows and arrows. It was Mother Earth in the form of a cow. She told Prithu, milk me gently. There is everything in my udders for the children. Milk me gently. Can we have a greater message about nature conservation than this? This is a civilization which found the balance in the universe. Everything has got a function. And it is by not upsetting the function of living creatures in the world that India teaches its children how to maintain the balance of life. And that is why, as Sri Kumari has said, one of the most beautiful aspects of Indian culture is a joint family system, where all for each and each for all. I think even now, I am sure that in the COVID days, the world found the great tradition of India coming to us, our security. Yes, the mother's food, the immunity which our culinary system gave to us, the gastronomic science of India gave to us, what Ayurveda could do, what yoga could do, what meditation could do, what the family could do. I think COVID has taught us a lesson to turn back to India and repeat what Arnold Toynbee said. The generation to come, the brave new world, which will emerge after the COVID, will see India which is soft power. As Dr. Ramchandran Nair and Srimati Srikumari said, our music, our dance, our traditions, our art, our culture, our heritage, all put together constitute the soft power of India. The hard power of India, which is hard power of the world, which is based on military power, will certainly yield to the soft power of India. India will certainly lead the world. It is said, an army of sheep led by a lion is more effective than an army of lions led by a sheep. In India, with the strength of our tradition, we can say we are an army of lions led by a bigger lion. India, I see before my eyes. India rising from its sleep like a giant and shaking its invincible lock in the years to come. India is ready. India is ready to lead the world. Toynbee is going to be proved right by the future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bose, for giving your views, and you are very strongly, you have said that whatsoever anyone will say, Indian heritage, it's all fact. And I will also like to add one thing, being a chairman of Organ Donation India Foundation, there is a thing about Maheshi Dadichi. When Maheshi Dadichi donated his bones to save the mankind, whether it is fact or fiction, nowadays we are vouching for the organ donation. What was that? That was an organ donation. It is a fact. So we cannot say the Indian heritage is fiction. It's a fact. Even the transplant, organ transplant, we have Lord Ganesha with us, in front of us. We cannot say that it is all fictitious. No, it is fact, because the organ transplant was conducted at that time. So one can imagine how Indian science, medical science, was so advanced that we have done the full head transplantation at that time, as well as the bone donation and bone transplants. So these things one should understand, and I am sure the viewers are also being enlightened today with such type of views which are given by all the experts. Now I would like to go and ask my question to Mr. Ramchandran. Mr. Ramchandran, you have heard what Dr. Bose has said in the concluding remark about the cultural leadership. Now, do you think post-COVID, India will emerge as the global culture leader due to its rich heritage? Because as you have mentioned that India has done lots of invention in our ancient time. And you have also said now we have to think for the future. So now my question to you is, do you think post-COVID India will emerge as the global culture leader due to its rich heritage? Mr. Ramchandran Nair, please.
Is that in spite of all the wealth we had, all the might we had, we have never been aggressive. Indians have never tried to go after them, subjugate the people, treat them as slaves. India has only accepted refugees from other parts of the world. When the Parsis had to flee from modern Iran, old Persia, they came to India, and they are part of the tradition of India. We accept people coming from outside, give them a decent place to live. It has not been our endeavor to conquer the world. The world has to learn this from us. Live and let live. Instead of trying to conquer others, subjugate others, we have tried to accept others. Mahatma Gandhi has said, don't speak of religious tolerance. You are not just tolerating other religions, you are accepting other religions. A real Hindu would always say Christianity, yes, Christianity is also all right. Islam is all right. Buddhism, what is wrong with Buddhism? Lord Buddha would have been considered a heretic in any other tradition. he destroyed our Hinduism. We have to throw him away. But Hindus, Indians have accepted Lord Buddha as a great incarnation of God. We accept all ideas. This is what the world has to learn from us. Don't try to fight to finish off the enemy, conquer nations. Accept everyone. Let all of us live together on the face of the earth. Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, Christians, Muslims, we are only happy to have all of them in this on the face of the globe. Have we ever said every Christian should be converted into Hinduism? Have we ever said every Muslim should be converted to Hinduism? We don't want to convert others. Actually, there were some occasions when some Christians approached Mahatma Gandhi and requested him, can we convert to Hinduism? He said, no, why should you? What is wrong with Christianity? Christianity is all right. Be good Christians. I would myself say, I am a good Hindu because I believe that I am also a good Christian. Because I believe in the great values of Christianity. What Christ has told us, how to live, how to approach life, how to approach others. Have we ever said, has any Hindu said, Christ is a heretic, Christ should be thrown away? We accept all of them. No aggression. It's only cooperation. Let all people cooperate. Try to live comfortably on the face of the earth. You have your space. They have their space. Let us not try to push them out. Let them not try to push us out also. This is India, and this lesson which India has taught to the world will be gradually accepted by the whole world. That is what I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Ramchand Nair. And you have very rightly said about that we do not want to conquer other countries. And we have seen recently also in 1971, when India won the East, divided the Pakistan, India would have very easily said, now we can rule that area, East Pakistan, or now it's Bangladesh. But India gracefully given to them to rule. And that is the grace in India, and this is because of our great heritage invited in ourselves, and that's why we are not interested to grab other countries, and which is happening now in the other countries but not in India. And that is why our according to Mr. Ramchand Nair, the others have to learn from Indian heritage, Indian culture, how to live peacefully, as well as to see to it that all the religions are accepted here. This is not that we are tolerating them or something like that. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramchandran, for giving such a thought-provoking views of yours. Now, I would like to ask Ms. Sri Kumari, the question is, do you think India will become universal guru in future due to its rich art and culture? Because you have mentioned about the guru, and but we would like to know how the India, because whatsoever has happened, it's a past, but we are also thinking that we want to know whether how India can become universal guru. It was universal guru earlier. Everybody knows that we were the gurus of the entire mankind.
India can still lead the world as a guru, provided she regains her spiritual power. When I say spiritual power, it has nothing to do with religion. But I will say it definitely has something to do with our dharma, metaphysics, dharma. That is the Sanatana dharma, which is a way of life. Most of us, even today, we follow, unknowingly, we follow the Sanatana dharma, most of us. But only a seeker or a thinker or a teacher can suggest the ways to make India go back to the same position as the guru of the world. Whether it is Oriental or Western, a culture or rather a heritage will have its own merits and demerits. We cannot ridicule the other cultures to highlight ours, but we can be choosy. Accept only the best features of the alien culture while still upholding the best of ours. As the Puranas say, when the ocean of milk was churned, surfaced. Amrit surfaced. So did the deadly Kalakoda. So Amrit is worshipped and Kalakoda is condemned. Like that, goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of weal and wealth, came up. She was followed by Jeshta, the goddess of evil and bad luck. Lakshmi is worshipped and Jeshta is chased off. So it is for us to decide what to choose and what not to choose. I still believe that India will win the heart of the world with her love and wisdom and not with disease, deceit and weapons as is done by some other countries. So India will certainly uh, get back to her position as the guru to the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Definitely, we would like to see that India should be a universal guru in future. Uh, Now, in the last round, Dr. Bose, I would like to know from you, what are your suggestions to the government about the heritage, and you being the chief advisor of the government of India, as well as advice to public at large, especially the youth, about the Indian heritage, the fact and or fiction? What are your suggestions and advice, suggestions to the government and advice to public at large?
Younger generation has to be made to feel proud of their country. Unfortunately, that is not the case now. And when we speak about our heritage, it's not mythology or epics or Puranas that constitute the essence of heritage. History also is an important part. Because of want of time, I do not want to dwell at length on that. But as a representative piece or hero from our history, I would like to bring or cite the example of Shivaji. You know, we have not really understood the greatness of Shivaji. A person's greatness is understood mostly from the words of his enemies. Here are the words of Aurangzeb after Shivaji's death in the namaz. His enemy, Aurangzeb, is praying to Allah, Ya Allah, you gave me an enemy, fearless and upright. Please keep your doors to heaven open for him, because the world's best and large-hearted warrior is coming to you. That is Aurangzeb about Shivaji. The enemy had pride in Shivaji. But our children do not know who is Shivaji. Again, when Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose approached Hitler for help to throw away the British regime here, you know what Hitler said? Netaji, your country does not require any Hitler to throw out British. All you need to teach is Shivaji's history. And we know, when the Vietnamese president Ho Chi Minh came here, he insisted on going to Shivaji's place. The most respected, revered figure in Vietnam is Shivaji. And Lord Mountbatten said, had Shivaji been born in England, we would not only have ruled earth, but the whole universe. We have to create pride of history in our children. I think India, from any side, whether it is mythology or the Puranas, Idihasas, literature, dance, music, India has always been leading the world, and India will lead the world, provided our younger generation feels that India is theirs and we instill pride in them. That perhaps is my humble message to the government and to society, as you requested. And the government, not this particular government, about government having been a government servant. I mean, I should not be saying that, but you know, President Reagan once said, government cannot solve any problem because government is the problem. I should not be saying it as a former civil servant, but I have the example of the former civil servant, Ramchandran Nair, before me. Alone, he has done great service to revive India's culture and tradition. I think we should leave it to the common society, the civil society, to bring back the pride in our heritage and culture. If that comes, then every Indian would proudly say, Mera Bharat Mahan. Like we in Kerala say God's own country about ourselves. People or the world will point their hands to us admiringly and say about India, this is God's own country. I think the day is not very far to hear that. Thank you.
God's own country, says Dr. Bose, that foreigners will say to India, yes, they have to say, because we are belongs to a very, very rich heritage and rich art and culture. Now, I'm going to Mr. Ramchandran Nair. Mr. Ramchandran Nair, same question to you is, what are your suggestions to the government, if any, and advice to the public at large, especially the young generation, about the art, culture, and heritage?
The Director of Public Instruction of Kerala State for 3.5 years. So I always consider education as one of the most important aspects of governmental functioning. In our educational system, at present, we are not giving adequate importance to the cultural heritage of India. As Sri Ananda Bose has said, history is an essential part of any education. Our children are not aware of the greatness of India's past. Sometimes we say our young children, they are not aware of it. See, why they are not aware of it? Because we have not taught them. See, children by themselves, they don't learn anything. We teach them. The elder generations have actually forgotten the cultural heritage of India. We have not told our younger generations what India has been. So even those who have taken mathematics or physics or chemistry or biology or any other subject as elective should be compulsorily taught an essential aspects of Indian culture, Indian heritage, India's past, Indian history, Indology, etc. That is what our educational system has to do. If that is done, I have no doubt the generations to come will be proud of India's past. They will know what India has achieved in the past, and they will try to excel in those fields as far as possible in future also. So our education should be arranged in such a manner that the Indian heritage, India's past, India's culture, etc., should be inculcated in the students in the as part of the syllabus. That is my suggestion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramchandran Nair. And now my last question, or the same question to you, Ms. Sri Kumari Ramchandran. Please unmute. Your suggestion, if any, to comment or advice to public, and especially as you are for telling about the joint family.
I have always believed that the education of a child will remain incomplete unless and until he or she learns the history of her motherland. Today, everyone in India is after science. Everybody wants to be an engineer or a doctor and want to leave India to serve America or Europe or Australia. I used to smile. It's really funny how they don't have anything to do with their motherland. It's not advisable. Let them learn science, but let them also learn the history of India and visit historical monuments as far as possible, as many as possible, and feel proud of her culture and heritage to be a true Indian. So my humble suggestion to the authorities is to include history in the syllabus. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Shri Kumari Ramchandran. So today you have seen that Indian heritage is a fact. It's not fiction. Whatsoever the Western people say or the Western author writes, no, it is not correct. We have to see our own selves. And as our panelist has mentioned very clearly, until unless we will not learn our own culture, our don't know our own history, how we'll know what India has given to the world? Today we are running after the Western countries, but the day was there when everybody used to learn to us. But now the COVID has shown the path again, and people have understood the Indian values, the Indian, whether it's a medical science, whether it's Ayurveda or yoga, or even at the family values, the joint family values. I am sure that this will definitely bring back the Indian heritage on top. And in that day is not far when we can proudly say that India is going to be the global leader in all the senses, including culture, as well as it will become a global guru. Thank you very much for giving your views. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon se Samvad Sarokar News, as well as it was shown live on YouTube and Facebook. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day new topic. And tomorrow is a very special topic in media conference with Lal Goel. It's not a topic, rather it's a launch of a book. For the first time, we are doing it, and the media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. is launch of a book called Small Town Nostalgia, written by Mr. Arjit Ghosh. He is Wing Commander Arjit Ghosh, retired. He is a renowned columnist and author, former Ranji Trophy cricketer and coach from Bangalore. So tomorrow we are going to launch his book on media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. So please do join tomorrow to listen from the author himself about his book. And today's program, I must give thanks to Dr. C.V. Anand Bose. Thank you very much, Dr. Bose. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramchand Nair. And thank you very much, Ms. Shil Kumari Ramchandran, for joining us and enlightening all of our viewers, your views. And thank you very much, all the viewers, for enlightening and listening the views of the top and very literate persons. I'm sure everyone is enlightened with today's program. Thank you very much.